You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. And be sure to smash that like button. Quinn Grovey, former Arkansas quarterback, now part of the Arkansas Radio Network, alongside, of course, Chuck Barrett, the longtime voice of the Hogs. Quinn's with us now. Quinn, great to have you back, man. How are you?
Matt Moscona, what's going on, my man? It's good to be on your show again.
Hey, man, it's always great to hear your voice, and I appreciate you taking the time to be with us today, man. Give me just a feeling, finger on the pulse, what it's been like this week, coming off a really disappointing loss against BYU, where, quite honestly, Quinn, the Hogs let one get away on Saturday up there.
Yeah. And before I jump into that, I just want to send my thoughts and prayers out to Greg Brooks and his family. I know he's going through some things, and we're praying for him over here in Arkansas as well. I know you guys are over there. So,
absolutely.
We'll continue to pray for him. But yeah, we let one get away. Now, when you look at the game, Matt, Sam has wanted this football team to start quickly. And that's what they did. They got out on them 14-0. And this was really one of the weird games I've seen in my career of doing football games, is because of the number of runs. It was almost like a basketball game. It's like Arkansas comes out and gets 14, BYU gets 21. Arkansas comes back and gets 10, BYU gets 14. It's just like it was just a game of runs right there. And usually I'll say a great football team will respond. So BYU did respond. Arkansas responded. But to give up a 14-point lead right off the bat and then give up a 10-point lead, 31-21 in the second half, at home when you got a packed house, that's very difficult to swallow, knowing that you're staring a 4-game, basically road trip in the face. You got to get every one of those that you can get, and they definitely let one get away.
Quinn, just kind of ear to ground, listening at what the conversation's been like there at Arkansas, it feels like a lot of the questions are surrounding this offensive line for Arkansas. Can you kind of break that down for me? What's going on there with the O-line with the Hogs?
Well, I think it's a combination of a couple of different things. One, I think it's the fact that the first two games, Western Carolina and Kent State, Arkansas really didn't deploy its entire run game. What I mean by that, they tried to run, basic inside zone, outside zone, G-power with the running back. Arkansas's run game is really difficult because when you insert KJ Jefferson into the run game, you can go from that power type stuff to finesse really quickly. And where that works well is against a guy like a Harold Perkins. You got to sometimes make him play responsibility football instead of just see ball, get ball.
Yeah.
And, so I think Arkansas really just loaded up and said, hey, we're going to run the football without KJ. Well, Western Carolina overcommitted and, stopped the run. Kent State really didn't overcommit. They just did a good job of stopping us. And, but yeah, you got some things you're trying to work through on this offensive line. They had not gelled away probably Sam and Cody Kennedy, the offensive line coach wants. So there are some things that I know we're concerned about over here, but we feel like we've got a great coach in Sam Pittman. If there's one area that he can cheer up, it's going to be the offensive line, and I think they'll be able to do that. Part of it too, Matt, is this new offensive scheme that they're trying to do with Dan Enos, but Sam is all about trying to get back to being very, very physical. And the one thing I always say is, I don't care if it's Western Carolina or Kent State, and if they overcommit to the run, you got to be able to run the football when people think you are going to run it or know you're going to run it. Yeah. But I get more concerned about, short yardage and red zone opportunities trying to run the ball, and you're not running it extremely well. So I think that those are the things. If you had to think about all the things in the run game, I think the biggest thing Sam would tell you is we still have to get better at short yardage, and we got to get better at running the football inside the 10 on the goal line.
Do you expect Rocket Sanders to play? And if so, what's a realistic expectation for what he could do coming off the knee injury?
Man, I don't know. That's a great question. My gut tells me I don't think you'll see him. But that doesn't mean anything. Sam and all those guys, they really have the answers to that. But my gut says he's probably not going to play. I mean, look, playing against a team like LSU, you need to be able to protect yourself. I mean, it's hard out there. It's rough out there. And so if he can't run the football, be effective, and protect himself, I don't think you'll see him. So that means, A.J. Green, Rashad Benyon, Dominique Johnson, those guys are going to have to step up in a big way. But I think the way they're going to offset that, and there's not going to be any question. There's not going to be any question who's going to be the leading ball carrier in this game. There's going to be K.J. Jefferson for Arkansas.
Quinn Grovey's with us. By the way, on Twitter, at Quinn Grovey4. Give him a follow. Former Arkansas quarterback's in the Arkansas Hall of Fame. Look, you know good and well what it's like as a quarterback to carry the football. If you would kind of look, we didn't get to see KJ last year, right? I mean, that was a Malik Hornsby game. KJ was a late scratch. All week, weren't sure if he's going to play. How much? It's an obvious question, but maybe you can go into some nuance here. How much does the dynamic of the game change with KJ out there?
Oh, it's everything. It's everything for this football team. It's not only everything for the offense, it's everything for the defense. He's the one guy that really connects with everybody on the team. So you got to have. I mean, you could see last year. I mean, anytime he went out of the game, it was trouble, and that's why I think one of the biggest acquisitions that Sam got this offseason was the fact that he was able to get Jacoby Criswell to come from North Carolina as KJ's backup at the quarterback position. And this is a guy that can actually win you some football games. So we feel good about that if KJ had to go out, but we don't want that to happen. I mean, everything is so much better. The confidence, the rhythm. And KJ is so smart. His football IQ is really, really off the charts. And Dan Enos puts him in situations where he's doing a lot of pre-snap stuff at the line of scrimmage. He's doing a lot of post-snap stuff as well. But it's a little bit different than what he was doing with Kendall Browse. Kendall was, making all the alerts and checks. You would see the team stop for a second, turn to the sideline, get the play. They don't do that nearly as much. And KJ has a whole lot more control and a lot more autonomy to make plays happen in what he sees. The only thing about it right now, and I had to go through this too, is my senior year, I had to learn a new offense. And I don't care. I don't care how it happens. It's very difficult to learn a new offense and put it together and have success early. Now, I mean, a guy like Shadur Sanders is debunking that theory, but when you have terminology that's different, you've got to be able to walk into that huddle with confidence and be able to, call those plays out and believe them and be able to get them right and not be stumbling and fumbling over your words and thinking about a lot of things. So I do believe the newness of the offense has led to the offense's slow start. But with that, I think the defense has really picked up in a big way. The defense is much better than it's been in the last couple of years, and they have been very opportunistic. They've created turnovers. They've created short fields. They've created lost yardage plays. So I think you're going to see a defense that, for the first time, I think we've got too deep on the defensive front. We've got some athletic linebackers, and we brought in a influx of talent in the secondary. They're good. I know they gave up 38 to BYU, but I promise you, BYU had a short field. They were able to take advantage of some things that Arkansas let them 15 penalties, 16 penalties, whatever it was. But yeah, it's an opportunity for this defense to really help this offense out. And they've got to do what they've done all season: create turnovers and create a short field for an offense that is not hitting on all cylinders.
Quinn, I'll go to the defense in a second, but one more on offense since you brought up Dan Enos. What is the most noticeable difference in what Arkansas does offensively with Enos as opposed to Kendall Briles?
Well, when you look at that, it's more of Dan Enos' bubble screen game, or his screen game in general. He'll run a bunch of bubbles. He'll run a bunch of tunnels. When the run game is not working, they will use that as an extension of the run game. And so I just think his screen game is off the charts. I think he finds a way to utilize his personnel. You'll see Arkansas in more 12 personnel, which is one running back and two tight ends. Mm-hmm. And so with that, I think that those are really the two biggest differences that you'll see. We thought we were going to see KJ on the center a whole lot more. We really haven't seen a whole lot of that. But I think the 12 personnel is really trying to find an advantage in the run game. And that goes back to the philosophy Sam's talking about, just really trying to be physical. And when you run those two tight ends out there, you force the defense to really make a decision. Am I going to come in here and try to play with a a lighter DB, or am I going to bring in a linebacker to really try to stop a tight end? And then now you got to really think about what are you going to do to that linebacker in pass coverage. So that's really one of the key advantages that he's looking at. And those are the two things that I see the most.
Quinn Grovey's with us. A couple more on Twitter at Quinn Grovey 4. Y'all give him a follow. Does a great job talking Hogs. Of course, he's the color analyst on the radio broadcast there for Arkansas, being Tiger Stadium Saturday. Defensively, I think it's well documented the struggles that the secondary had a year ago for Arkansas. But I look at the defensive front, I see a whole bunch of really veteran college football players. Is that the key, Quinn, for Arkansas defensively on Saturday? It's stop the run, contain Jaden Daniels, and make him throw.
Yeah, I believe that's. I mean, I think that's probably the MO for every defensive coordinator that's playing against LSU. I know Jaden Daniels had a great game against Mississippi State, and I don't know if Mississippi State has guarded Neighbors yet. I mean, he's just absolutely roasting that cat in the slot. I mean, it was. I was like, are y'all going to let him continue to run this slot phase? How many times is he going to be able to do this? And they just kept letting it happen, and they just kept firing it over us. But, it feels like Jaden Daniels is starting to get back on track. I don't know what happened to him in the Florida State game, but they know that he is going to carry the football. And I think both defenses have to deal with similar things in KJ and Jaden Daniels. You know that quarterback is going to be heavily involved in the run game, and they're very effective in the pass game, and how do you deal with that? My question is, Jaden Daniels, can he? And this is a question for you, Matt. I mean, can he sustain running the football the way he has? I think he was LSU's leading ball carrier last year.
Yeah. And
at 6'3", 6'4", whatever he is, and not very big, he's taking some shots, man. And he's the leading ball carrier for LSU again. I just wonder if LSU can really sustain that.
I don't know, man. You did it. You tell me. I mean, you're a better person to answer that question. I
mean, I don't know. He seems to be a little light, but he seems to know how to protect himself. And I was just wondering if you had any thoughts on that. But
yeah, Quinn, he did. Last year, so much of that was out of necessity because the offensive line was bad and they didn't have a solid running game. I think they're trying to pick their spots on when they call his number. You know what I mean? As opposed to when he tucks it and tries to make something happen. But the thing he's got to do, Quinn, dude's got to get down. He has taken two massive shots this year.
Yeah.
One against Florida State and one last week where he was decleated near the sidelines. Like, man, go out of bounds. Get down, go out of bounds. So for a veteran player, you would think that's understood, but that's one thing, man. They got to stress to that dude. Get down.
That's what I look at. And when I was watching their very first game, I was just like, man, this cat is taking shot after shot, and I'm surprised that he's getting up every single time. So obviously he's pretty tough and really good at what he does. So that's a lot of carries. He's taking a lot of shots. So hopefully he can hang in there.
He's got to go down, man. Slide, man. Slide. All right, before you go, what is for Sam Pittman and the Razorbacks? Like, they're a big underdog in this game. We all know that. What is the blueprint for Arkansas to come pull the upset? How would the game have to look?
Well, I think for Arkansas's offense, I think the first thing I would ask, and I was screaming at the TV when I was watching LSU play Florida State, is where's Harold Perkins? And are they going to let him do what he does, or are they going to have him be one of the best safeties in the country? I mean, they're going to have him playing pass coverage so much. I was wondering what they were doing with that. But if they turn him loose, they got to have a plan for him. And so you got to have a snap count plan for him. You got to have a pass protection plan for him, meaning knowing how to slide protection or have a back or tight end chip, because he disrupted us to the point where he almost single-handedly beat us last year. Yep. And so you got to have a plan for him. And you've also got to run directly at him. So offensively, that's one thing, having a plan for Harold Perkins. And then KJ has got to be able to try to stretch the secondary for LSU. I think they've got some folks out there that, you don't have a Greg Brooks out there, so I think that's maybe the weakness of this team. from what I've seen. And so if Arkansas can find a way to try to stretch that secondary, because they're going to have chunk plays. 16 plays for 75 yards is going to be very, very difficult to do. So you're going to have chunk plays in field position. So I think you've got to be able to do that. And then I think you got to see KJ with 15 to 20 carries. They do that on offense, they're good. Or they're going to have a chance. I won't say they're good.
Mm-hmm.
But then defensively, this defensive front has been good, from a tackles for loss perspective. So they've got to be able to create lost yardage plays. So winning on first down, in my opinion, is going to be very, very critical for them, because it is putting Jaden Daniels in obvious passing situations. But then they got to make sure when they do that, they can't let him out of it with his legs. And so LSU's got a boatload of talent, and you just got to make sure you watch Neighbors and the rest of those guys.
Somebody's got to cover 8, man. They didn't do it. Yeah. They didn't do it last week, bro.
Yeah. No.
He is Quinn Grovey on Twitter at Quinn Grovey4. Y'all give him a follow. Former Hog quarterback, does a great job on the Arkansas Radio Network. Hey, man, we appreciate it. Hope I get to see you this weekend when y'all come in town, man.
All right, my man, Matt. I appreciate you.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.